Hello, guys. Welcome to the Abstract Room. My name is Sankalp. And finally, we are discussing our book of the month, Excuses with Morrie, a very famous book. Anyone who wants to tell कि कैसा रहा experience पढ़ने का?
I read this book for the first time, and I do not generally books with self-help kind of content or philosophical kind of content without fiction story does not work well with me. I've tried multiple times, literally. But this book felt like a pillow to me. I read at night, and this gave me a sense of calm and peace. I loved the way it is written. They did not go into high literature or tough literature. They were, because I guess by the end of the book, I realized they just wanted more people to understand it rather than it being a landmark in the literature history.
I think the book knows what it is doing. Like it's very
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, it's very aware about that.
It found its place in all the chaos we are in.
I मतलब usually क्या होता है in self help books they get too preachy और मतलब they get directive कि हाँ ये ऐसा करना चाहिए, but this book, I mean, although it's not a self help book, I'm sure it helped a lot of people, and ऐसे एक sense of वो आता है, it's a source of inspiration और ये मतलब it questions everything you do. वो पर्सनल अटैक हो गया एक पॉइंट पे जिधर वो मिच का लाइफस्टाइल डिस्क्राइब करता है ना, इतना फास्ट पेस है. दैट वाज अ क्लियर पर्सन, मतलब ऐसा लगा कि मेरे ऊपर पॉइंट करके बोला कि हाँ ये तू ही है. एंड हाँ, और वो लास्ट वाला लाइन इन द जो लास्ट में बोलता है यू टॉक आई लिसन, एंड जब उसका एशेस को लोअर कर देते हैं, एंड that last sentence, it was Tuesday. उस सेंटेंस पे इतना रोया मैं. वो पता नहीं, वो 3 वर्ड है, इट वॉज ट्यूसडे, बट रो पड़ा उस सेंटेंस पे ऐसे. इट वॉज एन इमोशनल रोलर कोस्टर मेरे लिए तो.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. Thank you so much, Shailesh. Yes, Gauri?
Yeah, so when I was reading this book, I had a very heavy heart because my grandfather had cancer, and I could see him, like, his health deteriorating in the same way, like the way he described in this book. And the second thing is, I had my parts down. So there's this one thing they say that, feel the emotion completely and then detach to it. So, I think I read this book like 20 days back, and since then I'm trying to implement it, and it has worked a lot for me. And then the third thing is, a lot of times, when we are with our loved ones, we take them for granted. Like, we were just like, "Mujhe kaam hai, mujhe kuch karna hai, I'll just go away." And then Morrie says that, when you're talking to them, talk as if it's the last time you're going to hear them. So I think these small things kind of affected me, and then a very emotional book for me, lovely book.
And I don't think it's a self-help book. पहले जब मैंने पहला half पढ़ा ना, I didn't know it was based on a real story. Then I came to know that this is a real conversation, and this is just two people talking to each other and figuring out stuff. And so one of the things that really मतलब मुझे ना हमेशा लगता था कि when someone loses physical ability, that's as good as मतलब everything's gone. What can you do now? You're completely dependent. So the fact that Morrie really figured out how to find happiness and stuff like that, I was baffled. I was like, how? Like, it didn't feel real to me. Like, can a normal person actually accept all of that and be happy with it? I don't want to believe that somehow. But this book was it's a very impactful, obviously.
What do you think it makes the book so relatable to a lot of people? Yeah.
फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल कि मैंने पिछले एक महीने में 28 दिन में मैंने 50 पेज पढ़े होंगे, 50 या 60 पेज, और लास्ट के 2 दिन में मतलब बचे हुए 110 पेज के अराउंड पढ़ा है मैंने.
सेम.
और मतलब जो क्या कनेक्ट करती है, तो मतलब पिछले 2-3 दिन से पिछले लास्ट 2 दिन में मैंने सेक्स एजुकेशन का फर्स्ट, सेकंड, थर्ड तीनों सीजन कंप्लीट करा. और जो मतलब मेरे को बुक से फिर उसका जो वो कनेक्शन बैठा कि इनको बिठा करके ये सारे कैरेक्टर्स को एक मॉरी को बुलाओ और उनके साथ इनकी कन्वर्सेशंस करवाओ और इनके सारे प्रॉब्लम्स हैंडल हो जाएंगे.
I think especially for people of our generation, so by our generation, I mean, let's say school se people are transitioning to college, and then first job, second job, starting a family, this set of people. For us, it was quite relatable, and we were able to hold on to it. It was not just a preachy book, because it started off with two stories, one of a person, someone like us, and the other person who would probably, so while reading, I pictured Morrie as my most favorite teacher from school. So it's relatable to me because I'm reminded of that teacher, and I'm reminded of all the things that I've learned from them. So I kind of hold on to the book. And by the time the जो पूरा plot एक बार set हो जाता है, by that point you're invested. You're invested in the story. You want to know what's going to happen to Morrie. So you really want to go through the journey. And second aspect for me is, so I read the book twice. I read it the first time, I think 3 years back. At that point of time, I read it for few of the topics. I read it for the money chapter, for the greed chapter, for the fear chapter, because that was relatable to me at that point in life. Right now, when I read it for the second time, it was more relatable to me in terms of death, family, and forgiveness. The bucket of topics that this book has catered to, we are struggling with at least one of those aspects, knowingly or unknowingly, in our life right now. And we are all searching for answers. This book is not providing us answers, but this book is providing us an approach to probably broaden our mind and actually look at things from a holistic perspective, not just from our own perspective. अगर मैंने किसी family member को lose किया है recently, I am struggling with a lot of emotions, but it's not the first time that someone has died. It's not the first time that someone is facing a loss. It's happened with people. It happens with people every day. How do you deal with that and then get on with life? And similarly for all the different aspects that the book is talking. I think that's why it's related.
Having this awareness of your own insignificance or your, how small you might be in the larger scheme of things. How does it affect you? Does it make you feel bad, or does it make you feel good about yourself? Does it make you modest? Does it make you just sad कि मतलब क्या ही point है मेरे life का? Like, how do you see your own insignificance?
Relatable इसलिए है कि बहुत confronting है daily life से. मतलब जो क्वेश्चंस, जो चीजें जो नॉर्मली आती रहती हैं, उनसे बहुत ज्यादा कंफ्रंटिंग है. मतलब उसके बाद मुझे तो दूसरी बात बुक की जो बहुत अच्छी लगी, वो था जो मूरी का जो टाइम था, वो उसने जो लेंथन किया टाइम को, वो जो 6-7 महीने का जो वो टाइम पीरियड था, वो टाइम स्पेंड कितना लंबा लग रहा था. मतलब इसकी एक नॉर्मल हम लोगों के लिए, मतलब एज फॉर मी, अगर मैं अभी अपने बारे में बोलूँ तो मेरे को लग रहा है कि मुझे ये भी बनाना है, मुझे ये भी बनाना है, मैं देख नहीं पा रहा हूँ, मैं बना नहीं पा रहा हूँ फिल्म वगैरह, और मुझे लग रहा है कि टाइम बहुत कम है. लेकिन वो 7 महीने का टाइम, जैसे उसने मतलब उसकी फिलोसफी में भी और जैसे उसने बुक को राइटिंग में भी जो वो टाइम एक्सपेंड हुआ है, उससे लगता है कि टाइम ही टाइम है जिंदगी में, काम ही क्या है, बहुत लंबी जिंदगी है अभी.
One thing that struck my mind when I was reading is embrace it. All of us have the fear of aging. I think that was my favorite chapter. Even now, right now I'm working, and this has been my goal at one point of time. I worked my ass off for this, but still not enjoying it. I'm still thinking of what to do next. I'm not embracing this. All I can think is, how do I get to the next stage? And that has always been, put in us. So what I learned from Morrie was, to just live in the present, enjoy it. Whatever will happen, but it doesn't have to be the guidelines that are set by this society. He wantedly didn't do any medicine or anything that will exploit people. He wanted to, be with people and, make them even have discussions and not lectures. So, and this is the essence of the book for me.
60 years you have. Usme, if you can make one person smile, if you can make one dog smile, okay, you've done it. Like, bus, 60 years is just, isme, as much as you can enjoy yourself and as much as you can love someone, etc., you should do it. And the only thing that saddens me about the thought of death is the fact that like, I'm going to see somebody else, somebody I love die, and where is all that love going to go? ठीक है. And I think Fleabag में भी था, you know, when her best friend dies, she's just like, where do I keep all this love? And इस book में भी mentioned a similar line, and that's the only thing that saddens me. Yeah, that scares me on like a random Tuesday about thinking about death. Okay, so yeah, that is the only thing. Other than that, hamesha se, you know, like I've always heard this ever since I was young. Ki you're very tiny, you know, that way you're insignificant, but you are significant to maybe your sister, your parents, your friends. So you, as Morrie said, you know, like invest in people, and that's all you can do in these 60 years, because yeah, you can be the best footballer or whatever, you know, but there's always going to be somebody who's going to be better than you, and over time your name will go cross of history. Like koi farak nahi padega that you were there or not, but to the people who are closest to you, they're going to remember you till the time that they're there. Okay, so that was one thing, and like I can't even start on this book. Okay, like badi cute thi. Like I have made like I say, like while reading also just like made like I don't make too many notes in books, even though like it always looks nice, and I'm very lazy. I'm like, kaun likh ke aayega pencil, and you know, and all of that. But this time I like made sure that I would do it, and I had like little smileys or hearts or just like anything I found in the book I say marked, because it was just so heartwarming. And the, you know, the stuff I had written on like a piece of paper, the 4 questions that he had asked, like, have you found someone to share your heart with? Are you giving to your community? Are you at peace with yourself? And are you trying to be as human as possible? This literally sums up this book, and I think what your life should be at the end of the day, you know, it should just be about answering these questions, because he's covered everything with reference to giving, with reference to being empathetic, with reference to, you know, acceptance.
This book was neither philosophical for me. I mean, not at all philosophical for me. This book was a love story for me. This book was a love story. This book was a thriller for me. I don't remember like any like really, you know, like reading a thriller also kept me so intrigued and so hooked. I was reading on my bed. I was reading on my dining table. I was reading on the auto. There was no light. I was reading like this. जो passing lights आ रहे थे उसमें. I was reading on the metro. Saturdays को निकल रहा हूँ. I'm carrying this and I'm reading on the metro. I'm reading on the train. I was reading it everywhere. रखने का मन नहीं करता कि जब मौका मिले थोड़ा पढ़ लो, 2 पेज पढ़ लो. And you know, like I generally do not, if it is not by textbook, like more my academics, I never use a pen. This is the first book I've used a pen, which is not my academics. And I've literally, you know, like marked out pages, like exactly the kind of journey which Radhika just described. Like made symbols, wrote dialogues, films के references, जो भी आया, जहाँ पे जो आया, बस लिखता गया. I felt like I could. This was a scribble pad. This was not a book. So this was a love story for me, honestly, because you know what I could see through the entire journey of the book was love and empathy and the value of a human for a human. हम लोग आजकल के भागदौड़ के चक्कर में ना बस ये भूल जाते हैं कि you know that is one basic thing you need. There is one page where Morrie asks you know, Mitch, that you know, like, have I told you about the tension of opposites? And they have a 2-3 line conversation of 2-3 lines, and Mitch asks that, you know, who wins?
Love wins.
As a person, he's concerned that out of the left and right, who wins? Morrie says love wins.
I don't know why, but this is a different perspective. But I don't know why, but this is a philosophical book for me, and I rate philosophy very highly. I mean, I don't see it in a way कि philosophical book है तो मैं नहीं पढ़ूँ. I like philosophy, and I think this is a philosophical book for me, and it talks about soft determinism in a sense that like there are most of the things in your life जो मतलब, you know, you basically Mitch's understanding of life was that like maybe life का कोई essentially कोई meaning है नहीं, but still you need to go out there and find your purpose, find your meaning, and you know वो करना होता है. Like that's just how you get past life. So it's like ज्यादा चीजें तुम्हारी कंट्रोल में नहीं होगी, बट स्टिल यू हैव, लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल तुम किस दुनिया में रहती हो, क्या तुम्हारा कैसे तुम्हारा कल्चर है, क्या है वो तुम्हारे हाथ में नहीं है, बट प्रोबेबली क्रिएटिंग अ सब कल्चर आउट ऑफ इट फॉर योरसेल्फ, क्रिएटिंग अ नीश फॉर योरसेल्फ, जस्ट टू एटलीस्ट अ मेंटल नीश फॉर योरसेल्फ इज इन योर हैंड्स. सो इट्स लाइक पूरा तुम्हारे हाथ में भी नहीं है. इट्स नॉट अ फ्री विल वर्ल्ड, बट इट्स नॉट लाइक अ completely determined world as well जहाँ पे सब लिखा हुआ है. It's somewhere in the middle and you just need to find your way through it कि तुम क्या कंट्रोल कर सकते हो, तुम क्या कंट्रोल नहीं कर सकते हो. and it's more about the perception that you have and the way you deal with that rather than the situation happening. Because situation तो सारी सेम ही है, जो मतलब जनरली लाइफ में जो सबकी होती है मोर और लेस घूम फिर के वो सेम ही होती है. इट्स जस्ट अबाउट हाउ यू रिएक्ट टू देम, हाउ प्रोबेबली यू डील विद देम.
पढ़ते हुए ऐसा लगा लाइक द वन की टेक अवे फ्रॉम दिस बुक वाज कि अपने काम को मीनिंगफुल बनाओ. लाइक if you notice what he had done throughout his life, his main goal was to be as useful to the society as possible. Matlab, if you take a look at Mitch's life, sure he was a successful sports commentator. Uska matlab in terms of professional life uska successful tha, but from an emotional standpoint, if you know about this theory called Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it starts out कि तुझे पहले सेफ्टी चाहिए, then you need food, and slowly you go on to esteem, and at the top there is self actualization. मतलब कि तेरे को खुद को लग रहा है कि मैंने जिंदगी में कुछ कर लिया है. Yeah, so it kind of seemed similar to that. Like Mitch was on the lower stages where he was just running after esteem, or to मतलब दूसरे के eyes में he was trying to be good. But what we need to do is get to the top of the pyramid and make our life actually meaning. मतलब जो work करते हैं अपने जिंदगी में, make that as impactful as possible. So that was one key takeaway for me.
Yeah, but you know, Sailesh, I really feel that because it's a hierarchy, मतलब Masterism is a hierarchy. I think obviously we can't like just jump through the top, right? I think we have to go through those stages and we have to pass those. It's not hurdles, it's those stages that you have to pass to reach self-actualization. Because I personally feel that even though Mitch gets all the advice from Morrie right now, इसको actually जब वो intuitively कैसे उसको implement कर पाता है या नहीं कर पाता है, that will actually determine कि वो सीखा कि कुछ नहीं सीखा, या फिर वो actually कैसा बंदा है. And eventually he might end up being self-actualized. At the moment he shouldn't be and he is not, and that's completely fine, because you can't just be self-actualized at the age of 20, 25. If you are, then wonderful, that's a separate thing, but I mean it's envious actually. But
actually वही तो process है ना, like every person inevitably goes through that. If I remember correctly, पहले Morrie का initial life stage में he was put in a psychiatric hospital जिधर he had just to मतलब खड़े होकर उसको observations लेना था. Like at that time his impact on the world was less, but as time progressed he evolved और उसका impact भी proportionately बढ़ता गया. So I mean it is a process, and the top of the pyramid should be our मतलब final goal या ऐसा कुछ.
But one must go through the pyramid entirely, that otherwise you can't actually reach it.
बीच में रुकना नहीं है,
वरना प्रिटेंस हो जाएगा कि yeah I'm perfectly fine. नहीं होता कुछ ना कुछ निकलेगा बाद में एक दिन.
The fact that we have to go level by level, we can actually see it happening in the book. So when Mitch came to meet Morrie for the first time, he was in a very different mind space, and he was very embarrassed to connect himself with his 16-year past wala personality, because that was what Morrie was. That was where he had left Morrie. And eventually, by the end of the book, you realize that Mitch is the one who is actually physically helping him with everything. So there are very small bits and pieces where you actually feel him going up the ladder, where, you know, that sense of personal space, that sense of security, that sense of that elementary love and belongingness, that friendship, that physical touch, and respect and understanding, and how to derive strength. We are going up the ladder gradually with every chapter that Morrie introduced to Mitch. Morrie essentially opened Mitch up. He already knew the kind of student he had taught, let's say for 3 years or 4 years. He knew Mitch's personality. That is why probably he felt that this was the right person to discuss everything with, and to actually go ahead with a classroom and a thesis. And because why did Morrie choose Mitch for this project that he wanted to give to the world? कुछ तो मॉरी का भी थॉट प्रोसेस रहा होगा कि मैं why am I giving this to the world through Mitch? Will Mitch be able to deliver? I think he, as his teacher, knew that he'll be able to reach that place of, let's say, esteem or self-actualization within Mitch's inner mind, and he'll be able to open that, and through that, Mitch will be able to communicate everything that he had, wanted to.
हम तो क्या हम है, तुम ही तुम हो तो तुम क्या क्या तुम हो। हम जो है, हम कितना भी कुछ अचीव कर ले, या फिर मेरे लिए भी जो पूरा बुक का वो था पर्पस था कि बुक बहुत ज्यादा वो बता नहीं रहा था कि तुम ये करो ऐसा करो, ये करने से ऐसा हो जाएगा। वो सिर्फ एक बंदे का पर्सपेक्टिव बता रहा था, और वो कभी इतना खुल करके स्टैंड आउट नहीं हो रहा था, वो ओपिनियन की तरह नहीं आ रहा था। वो सिर्फ एक पर्सपेक्टिव के थ्रू आ रहा था कि ये मेरा एक्सपीरियंस है, जो रिदम कहने की भी कोशिश कर रहा था, ये मेरा सच है, बट तुम्हारे सच के लिए तुमको खुद ये एक्सपीरियंस, जो जर्नी मैंने कहते तय करा है, वो जर्नी तुम्हें खुद चल करके पूरा करना पड़ेगा। अर्नब का मतलब जो मेरे को वो लगा था कि अर्नब ने कहा था ना कि लव ऑलवेज विंस, बट वो ऐसा केस नहीं होता इन रियलिटी वर्ल्ड। अगर एक सपना पूरा होता है तो 100 सपने अधूरे रह जाते हैं, और या फिर तुम एक चीज को कंप्लीट करना चाहते हो तो कितनी कहते हैं इनकम्प्लीट चीज को करने के बाद वो एक चीज कंप्लीट होती है। और जो पूरे बुक में मतलब बहुत सारी चीजों से तो मेरे को उतना कुछ नहीं समझ में आया। और जो एक वो जो बात करी गए थे मौरी ने कि मेरे पापा मुझे काम के लिए ले गए, और मैंने देखा कि हर जगह यही है कि तुम्हें एक हायरार्की मेंटेन करनी पड़ेगी, तुम्हें तुम्हारे अंदर लोग काम करेंगे, और तुम्हें जो मैन लेबर है उसका कहते हैं यूज करना पड़ेगा, और किस तरीके से कहते हैं इतना इनइक्वालिटी है। और उसने डिसाइड करा कि भले मेरे पास पीएचडी है मेडिकल उसका है, बट मैं ऐसा काम नहीं करूंगा जिसमें मेरे अंदर कुछ लोग काम करे। और फिर वो लास्ट में टीचर बन गया। मतलब हम कोशिश कर सकते हैं कुछ करने के लिए, एक आइडियलिस्टिक लाइफ जीने के लिए, और बट जो एक वो है हमारा जो इनफेलिएबल फेट है ना, जो हमारी किस्मत है, वो हमेशा उस बीच में आएगा ही आएगा।
एक खाली इंटरेस्टिंग बात मेरे को पता है स्टोरी में क्या लगी थी, दैट वन एस्पेक्ट व्हेन मॉरी सेड दैट आई एम नॉट आस्किंग यू टू जस्ट walk around naked on the street, and matlab I'm not asking you to just stop following all rules or something. Being free or doing what you want to do doesn't mean that. I mean, if you want to remain a part of this culture because you want to, because a social animal हो, you can't always be into the wild जैसे फिल्म में था कि just निकल लिए आना। तो उसके बाद में उसने रिलेट किया था एक तरीके से एक टाइम के बाद में। So if you, because you have to find a space, your own niche in this world, because you can't not live in it, you can't not live in it, so you better find your own subculture somewhere. And I think subculture is a word that I really want us to properly focus on, because it just tells a lot about how you define yourself. And वो एक बहुत ही cliched line है, but लोग बोलते हैं ना कि your 5 closest friend क्या आप average होते हो, and it defines who you are or something. Probably 5 का पता नहीं, यहाँ जितने भी उसका average कर लो, so probably that also defines in a way a subculture that we are trying to create in some sense. And this is in a lot of sense काफी मुझे सुनने में मिलते हैं. I actually had a question that we can I think upon, and I think Radhika you can also वहां से शुरू कर देना अभी. A very interesting question, because एक लाइन था जिसका मेरे को अभी तक प्रॉपर्ली मीनिंग समझ में नहीं आया शायद. पेज 52 पे था, which was that love is the only rational act. This was the line he mentioned, that I think love is the only rational act. And I would really like to know what your thoughts are on that.
I actually don't know what he exactly meant by this, but abhi when I'm reading it again, it probably occurs to me कि उसने आगे I think marriage के बारे में ऐसा कहा था कि you're missing out on it. If you don't do it, you're missing out on it. And it gets me back to something that my dad said on the same lines. He's like, you talk about like not getting married because like there's so much of compromise that's required, etc. He's like, cool, don't do it, but you will miss out on it. It's painful and it's hurtful, but you're going to miss out on it. Okay? And I think when he's saying love is the only rational act, I think he means the same thing with reference to so many other ideologies that we've discussed, like the eggs wala part of it. Yeah. So I think here also he means the same thing. Like if you're rational, if you're thinking you want to, live your life to the fullest. Okay, so love is the most rational thing to do. Like, you love people around you and you give love and you absorb yourself in it the most. And I think that is what this particular line meant. I also wanted to kind of bring up the points that Rhythm and Mahi also brought in with respect to like jo points kuch jaise idealistic the, ya you know, like if everybody wanted to live like him, you know, there would not be any amazing things happening in our world. And with reference to that, matlab mujhe aisa laga ki that is separate, you know, a passion of whatever pursuit he wanted is different. Like एक interview था YouTube पे, I think of 3 nurses or something, and they were sharing the sort of lines that they have seen people on their dying bed say, and all are similar things only, you know, that it's most important to be a good person, it's most important to love, to not regret and stuff like that. And even if you see jo bhi, agar tum excellence ki baat kar rahe ho, I don't know why sports people hi aate hain mere dimag ke andar, but you know, when we are talking about them, if you hear their interviews, after a point of time they're like, we want our children to be good people first, you know, we want them to explore life. So pursuit and passion for something is different, and usko aap kis tarah se approach karte ho is completely different. But how you wish to be in your relationships, aap kitna human ho sakte ho, aap kitna empathize kar sakte ho log ko, I think that is what he spoke about the most. Uska perfect day was his pursuit, you know, like as a teacher. उसका किस कई लोग को होता है ना, मेरे को नहीं करना है जॉब, नहीं करना मुझे, बिजनेस ही करना है, किस लोग को नहीं, मेरे को नहीं करना अपना खुद का सेटअप. सो आई थिंक इट वाज मोर ऑफ दैट वाज माय अंडरस्टैंडिंग of it, and it just felt advice coming from somebody dying feels a lot more credible to me than somebody who's just successful.
Love in the sense, not what we define in those Bollywood movies. Definitely not that kind of a love I'm talking about or professing out today. Love in the sense, in the general form of love, a love of a human for a human, or a human for an animal. So it's your basic nature as a human, through which you show empathy, through which you care for each other. The happy-go-lucky days are always easy to pass by, but what keeps you going in the not so low, not so high days? That is love. You know, that is not love what you give, but love what you get also from people who are around you. And love is not coming and saying, "Bro, I love you," or, you know, like, "Bhai, hum tumse bahut pyar karte hain." No, love has gestures. Love is, you know, like when your friend has fallen asleep, when your roommate has fallen asleep, you come silently enter the room and your roommate is asleep, and you just pull the quilt and put it on him. You know, that is love. Love is when, you know, like you see it's 11 p.m. and your friend hasn't come back from office, and you call him and ask, "Bhai, kahan reh gaya? Abhi to bhi office mein hai kya? Office mein hi kar raha hai kya kuch?" So that phone call is love. You know, love is you know, like asking someone that, you know, "Bhai, khana khaya tha, lunch kiya tha, aanखें ऐसे सूजी हुई क्या है, बॉस बहुत ले रहा है क्या?" मतलब love is also when your friend asks you कि चल भाई सैटरडे है, बीच घूम के आते हैं. It's too pure and incompassible thing to define, and I mean you can only feel it. So if you would not do it with your rational mind, I don't think it is, you know, like possible to. I mean, love can get irrational. Love, the consequences of love can get irrational, but love, the act of love, it has to be rational. I agree with Morrie there.
तो लव का ना सीन ये है कि इट्स टू पावरफुल. ठीक है, मतलब वो चीज ना, वो हम लोग वो नहीं कर सकते, बयान नहीं कर सकते, क्योंकि वो इतना पावरफुल इमोशन है. लव और हेट दोनों अपोजिट है, लेकिन वो दोनों इतना पावरफुल इमोशन है. और हम लोग, हाँ, जैसे लाइक मैं एक एग्जांपल देता हूँ, बहुत फालतू एग्जांपल है लेकिन ठीक है. मेरी लैब्राडोर है लूसी मोटी, ठीक है, उसका सरनेम है मोटी. हाँ, तो मैं उसको बहुत परेशान करता हूँ, बहुत, मतलब बहुत. ठीक है, मैं उसको उछाल के खेलता हूँ, मैं उसको मारता हूँ, मैं उसको चिमटता हूँ, मैं बहुत परेशान करता हूँ. लेकिन फिर भी जब भी मैं जैसे एक सैडनेस आती है ना अचानक से, जब भी वो आती है, तब लूसी मेरे पैर के पास आती है, तब मैं आके मेरे गाल चाटती है. क्यों? क्योंकि दैट्स लव है ना. मैं भले उसको कितना परेशान करूं, लेकिन वो मेरे साथ रह रही है, वो मेरे साथ उठ रही है, वो मेरे साथ सो रही है, वो मेरे साथ बैठ रही है, उसको मालूम है मैं कौन हूँ. तो हाँ, भाई मैं बहुत सोच के रखा था यार, वो साला.
कोई नहीं, आगे काफी चीजें पहुंच गई यहाँ तक.
भाई too good, too good. मतलब इतना तो ऐसे तो ओपन मतलब सचिन और सहवाग भी नहीं किए. लव का नहीं ये सीन है बाबा.
देखो भाई, लव का सीन ये है.
लव का नहीं है.
मैं बताता हूँ. जाकिर खान आगे बैठे सामने अपने.
And to me, love is the most rational thing because like there does not go a day where you do not feel loved or you do not feel love for someone else. And as Arnab said that love is not about what is shown in Bollywood movies or anything like that. It is in the gestures. And we have this thing like love languages. People have this my love languages, sharing books. My love languages, caressing other people. Yeah. My love language is this and that. I won't go too deep into it, but like that is what keeps us sane, and like at least that is what keeps me sane.
So if it's okay, I want to read that paragraph जहाँ पे ये quote आता है, and then I want to speak because I think कि वो थोड़ा सा context भी आ जाएगा where it was. Um, but you asked about caring for people I don't even know. But can I tell you the thing I'm learning most with this disease? What's that? The most important thing in life is to learn how to give out love and to let it come in. His voice dropped to a whisper. Let it come in. We think we don't deserve love. We think if we let it in, we'll become too soft. But a wise man named Levine said it right. He said, love is the only rational act. So I wanted to do that.
Thanks.
And so this line is very relatable with the आगे वो बोलता ना love each other और perish वाला thing. So the thing that I understand is कि all the other things that you do, you have your pursuits, you have your passions, तुमने ये achieve किया and all that. You have a lot of success, you have a lot of पैसा. But if you don't have love, then वो ऐसा कुछ ऐसा कौड़ी भर का उसका वैल्यू नहीं रहता, क्योंकि तुमको लाइफ में मतलब तुम्हें अच्छा ही नहीं लगेगा ना, क्योंकि you have all of these things but you have nobody to share it with, you have nobody to take care of you when you need it, right? So if you have love, then other things can come into place, but if you don't have love, then other things will fall down, is what I realized. Okay. And दूसरा thing, which when we were talking about the mind and heart thing, so I don't think कि based on a situation you have to choose one. ठीक है ना, मतलब ये बुक में जो भी कुछ चीजें है उसके साथ I don't agree with. जैसे कि there's this line where he says कि all these people are leading half asleep meaningless lives, chasing meaningless things. I don't agree with that. Just because मैं कोई success या मैं पैसा को pursue कर रही हूँ, that doesn't mean my life is meaningless. At the same time, whatever I'm working on can be purposeful in other ways. I can give back to society in other ways. ऐसा नहीं है कि मेरे को एक ही चीज करनी है. मैं material pursuits भी लग सकती हूँ और मैं क्या बोलते हैं, I can give back to people. I can the part that he emphasized on completely. तो ऐसा नहीं है कि एक बाजू एकदम पूरा सा these are meaningless people.
It's impossible to distinguish between both of them. It's like it's all a package together and everything, right?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is he in the book he talks only about one thing.
Got it.
वो दूसरे side को completely meaningless बोल देता है. So that part I didn't like.
So yeah, I was saying let's talk a little bit about the writing style of the book, the way it was written, and the structure and how that struck to you. Maybe the book cover or the size of the book, or maybe the dedication in the beginning.
Sankalp,
Let's talk a little.
Sankalp, before you go to the writing style, can you just give me 1 minute? I have this letter which I got from my teacher when I was leaving my masters. She gave me this. I had not read Tuesdays with Morrie at that time, but I had read this letter. And given this is a very good opportunity, I would just like to. I've never posted this anywhere because it was a very personal thing to me, personal, very asset to me. I just like to read. This short. It won't take more than a minute.
Sure.
So, with your permission. She was my professor in NIT when I was doing my masters in NIT, and we used to talk. We used to discuss a lot of things. We were quite close. We used to discuss a lot of things besides academia. Like literature, movies, shows, like every other thing than academia, in outside the class. So she sent me this in a mail only after my course completed. So it goes like, dear Arnab, by the time you read this letter, you are already on the first page of your life's new chapter. And one of the secrets of a successful life is to never turn the pages of the previous chapters. As a teacher, my duty is to mentor students, and this letter has its own purpose. Today, you are on that verge from where your life is going to change completely, and whatever you become, that will be solely because of your good self. Life has its own motion, which is a variation of the sinusoidal curve. Everyone reaches 90 degree, but your focus should be how long you can stay there. Try to be quiet at 270 degree and accelerate at the 180. Have a respect on experience. It will remind you of not doing the same mistake again. Do work hard, there is no substitute of it. But remember that when you are sitting with a stranger on a same park bench and you want to start a conversation, you should have topics other than your presentations, project, reports, the government, and economy. Travel as far as you can, as much as you can. I bet no degree could give that much education like traveling and its consequences can. Make friends. There is no such relationship like friendship. Friends will be your only achievement to treasure when you reach the 360 degree of life. Last but not the least, at the end of the day, try to measure how happy you are, and success will definitely follow you. With kind regards, age 157, invest in the human family, invest in people, build a little community of those who you love and who love you. That would be one, and obviously the other, page 40. Have I told you about the tension of opposites? He says. The tension of opposites? Yeah, life is a series of pulls back and forth. You want to do one thing, but you are bound to do something else. Something hurts you, yet you know it shouldn't. You take certain things for granted, even when you know you should never take anything for granted. A tension of opposites, like a pull on a rubber band, and most of us live somewhere in the middle. Sounds like a wrestling match, I say. Huh, a wrestling match. He laughs. Yes, you could describe life that way. So, which side wins? I ask. Which side wins? He smiles at me. The crinkled eyes, the crooked teeth. Love wins. Love always wins.
Take any emotion, love for a woman or grief for a loved one, or what I am going through, feel and pain from a deadly illness. If you hold back on the emotions, if you don't allow yourself to go all the way through them, you can never get being detached. You are too busy being afraid. You are afraid of the pain. You are afraid of the grief. You are afraid of the vulnerability that loving entails.
Yeah, page 166 की line है कि it's not just other people you need to forgive, Mitch. Morrie, he finally whispered. We also need to forgive ourselves.
Once you learn how to die, you learn how to live. That one. And love is how you stay alive even after you're gone.
He squeezed my hand gently. I squeezed back harder. And like that carnival contest where you bang a hammer and watch the disc rise up the pole, I could almost see my body heat rise up Morrie's chest and neck into his cheeks and eyes. He smiled. In the beginning of life, when we are infants, we need others to survive, right? At the end of life, when you get like me, you need others to survive, right? His voice dropped to a whisper. But here's the secret. In between, we need others as well. That thing stayed with me.
So the culture we have does not make people feel good about themselves. And you have to be strong enough to say if the culture doesn't work, don't buy it. So, it's like a daily reminder that हम लोग इतना Instagram पे या we see so many things and एक culture set हो गया है. So, and it sometimes make you feel really bad about yourself. So just a reminder that, make your own culture. So yeah, that those lines I really like.
While I was reading this book, I was heavily reminded about a very famous Hindi film which was made in 1971 called Anand.
Anand.
And Babu Moshai, जिंदगी
Yes.
लंबी होनी चाहिए.
I wrote that line.
जिंदगी बड़ी होनी चाहिए. लंबी
Thank you.
नहीं.
Thank you.
He had created a cocoon of human activities, conversations, interactions, affection, and it filled his life like an overflowing bowl of soup.
Giving to other people is what makes me feel alive. Not my car, not my house, not what I look like in the mirror. When I give my time and I can make someone smile after they're feeling sad, it's as close to healthy as I ever feel. And I know I've already quoted The Fault in Our Stars in the comments earlier, but I don't fear oblivion and I don't feel anyone should. Because every single person, you might not realize it, but you have impacted at least one life at some point in their life. And that should be, validation enough for you to feel that you're leading a meaningful and a happy life.
Morrie said, "Do you think that's strange? Do you think because I am dying, I shouldn't care what happens in this world? Maybe." He sighed. "Maybe you are right. Maybe I shouldn't care. After all, I won't be around to see how it all turns out." But it's hard to explain, Mitch. Now that I am suffering, I feel closer to people who suffer than I ever did before. The other night on TV, I saw people in Bosnia running across the street, getting fired upon, killed, innocent victims, and I just started to cry. I feel their anguish as if it were my own. I don't know any of these people, but how can I put this? I'm almost drawn to them. His eyes got moist, and I tried to change the subject, but he dabbed his face and waved me off. "I cry all the time now," he said. "Never mind." एक ये था, और जो एक और था वो छोटा सा था, जब कहते मॉडी अपने चाइल्डहुड को एक्सप्लेन कर रहा था, चाइल्डहुड मेमोरी को, और एक टाइम पे उसने बताया कि जब उसकी माँ की डेथ हो गई थी, उसकी मम्मी जब मर गई थी, तो उसको न्यूज मिला था, और उसको सिर्फ 2 लाइन में उन्होंने बहुत ही अच्छी तरीके से एक्सप्लेन करा है. आई थिंक जो होल पर्सपेक्टिव ऑफ उसका लाइफ है, वो कैसे उसको उस तरफ गया, कैसे वो जो लाइफ इज ऑल अबाउट गिविंग, लाइफ इज ऑल अबाउट केयरिंग और वो सब. तो आई थिंक उस मोमेंट में मेरे को रियलाइज हुआ कि ये इंसान जो आज बना है, या फिर जिस इंसान जो बन करके अभी मर रहा है, वो शायद इस इंसिडेंट की वजह से था. और ये लास्ट की 2 लाइनें जब उसको न्यूज मिलता है कि उसकी माँ मर चुकी है, तो Morrie playing stickball in the street would pretend he did not hear her. In his mind, he believed he could not make the illness go away by ignoring it. In his mind, he believed he could make the illness go away by ignoring it. How else can a child confront death? How else can a child confront death? Yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you so much. Anshika?
Whenever people ask me about having children or not having children, I never tell them what to do. Morrie said now, looking at a photo of his oldest son. I simply say there is no experience like having children. That's all. There is no substitute for it. You cannot do it with a friend. You cannot do it with a lover. If you want the experience of having a complete responsibility of another human being, and to learn how to love and bond in the deepest way, then you should have children. And I had a complete different perspective towards it, कि बस society बोल रहा है, इसलिए कर रहे हैं सब लोग. And there is one another line, like मैंने ना जब ये book start की, तो मैंने पहले ना Goodreads पे quotes पढ़े जाके, तो उसमें quote मैंने screenshot करके रखा था. So many people walk around with a meaningless life. They seem half asleep, even when they are busy doing things they think are important. This is because they are chasing the wrong things. The way you get meaning into your life is to devote yourself to loving others, devote yourself to your community around you, and devote yourself to creating something that gives you purpose and meaning. And that's what I am following, like completely following right now, कि अभी ऐसे देखना है लाइफ को. इट्स नॉट लाइक कि स्टेबल चाहिए क्या चाहिए. आई थिंक अगर ऐसे चलेंगे तो एट द एंड स्टेबिलिटी भी आ ही जाएगी शायद. बट अगर स्टेबिलिटी ढूंढेंगे तो पर्पस शायद पता नहीं मिलेगा या नहीं मिलेगा. हम पता नहीं कंप्यूटर के जैसे सिर्फ फॉर्म करते जाएंगे.